Claw is a 2007 horror/unintentional comedy starring Sean Patrick Flannery and that horrible little white cunt from Addams Family Values. Although initially airing as a sci-fi original TV movie, I found this hunk of white shit in a Dollar General as part of the Animal Apocalypse collection, a $5 DVD, with this being the first of 4 movies I'm going to review. This film is directed by Sheldon Wilson, who at the time was riding high off the runaway success of classics such as Shallow Ground and Night Class. Yeah, I know this poster says Seduced by a Thief, but this is what IMDb had as the Night Class poster, so just use your imagination or something. And written by Benjamin Stan? That's too many consonants. Who fortunately dropped off the face of the earth in 2010. This is easily one of the worst things I've ever seen. I've never witnessed a movie and experienced such an equal amount of hysterical laughter and headache-inducing stupidity at the same time. My body physically hurt and I wanted to die by the time it was over. So what kind of shit show do you get for $1.25? Let's find out! The very first shot of the movie opens with a jump scare violin.
Not even 1 second into the movie and we've already got the violin.
And before you can even process the scene, we dissolve to a dead animal with a second jump scare violin, even though this one has absolutely no visual cue.
Oh, there's some more violin.
Now we dissolve to someone's house with the camera headed towards the bedroom. But fuck this scene, let's immediately cut to a man walking in a completely different location. Now back to the bedroom, back to the man, back to the bedroom. Alarm clock jump scare. By the way, that is literally the sole purpose of this whole bedroom shot, just an incredibly shitty jump scare. She says,
"Baby, turn off the alarm."
Rolls over and goes back to sleep, and then we cut to the next scene. Are you exhausted yet? Because we are literally 70 seconds into this movie and we've already had 3 jump scares, 4 different locations established, and 7 cuts between the locations. Hold on to your butts because this one's gonna be a doozy.
Caw.
We cut to what appears to be an Alzheimer's patient lost in a barn because even though he looks like he owns this tractor, he treats it like he's never seen a fucking tractor before. We then see a raven standing in front of a green screen, swoop down, eat a dead mouse, choke on it for a little bit, and then just lets the tractor run his retarded ass over.
Oh, did you hear the crunch?
The Raven's crew, totally stoked his lame ass is dead, starts raging with the farmer. Back in the bedroom, we're introduced to 2 of the main characters. Wayne, the chief of police, and Cynthia, a prostitute. Today is Wayne's last day before retiring as chief, even though he looks like he's 40 years old. And Cynthia makes some offhand remark about having to do some hooker stuff. It's really not important. Chief Wayne is about to get his $40 worth when he gets a call from the dispatcher over the radio, who feels the need to tell the chief who she is.
Wayne, it's Luann. Are you there?
Even though she's literally one of 3 people who work in this town's police department. The prostitute then retrieves her camera from the nightstand in a very blatant attempt at blackmail, followed by an implied sex scene, but there's so little penetration shown it's really not worth watching anyway. Chief Wayne arrives to the scene of the first victim to discover the farmer passed out from partying with the Ravens and getting totally wasted on strawberry syrup. This character's name is Clyde and he's the school bus driver. I'm just gonna tell you his name and character now because the pacing of this movie is so goddamn awful that you don't find out about some of these characters' names or motivations until you're like an hour into this shit pile. And I don't want to put you through what I had to sit through. Like this asshole here. He never gets fleshed out at all. And I swear to God, I had no idea he was a school bus driver until an hour into the movie. I mean, yeah, he's driving a school bus, but honestly, I thought he was just some guy with a mental illness that drove a bus everywhere. Clyde sees a raven minding his own fucking business and takes it upon himself to show his dog just how big of an asshole he can be by throwing shit at the bird and missing in spectacular fashion.
Dude, leave the fucking thing alone. What a fucking asshole.
Tough guy, huh?
Yeah, he's a tough guy. He's just sitting there minding his own fucking business. That crow got hops.
The Ravens surround Clyde and square up for fucking with their boy, forcing Clyde back into the barn. Now, I'm pretty sure this scene was supposed to end right here, but for the sake of filling time, Clyde decides to escalate the situation by returning outside with a shotgun and shooting at the party birds. We then cut to a shot of the CGI birds either flying away or towards Clyde. I'm not really sure. It's kind of actually hard to tell. And once again, when the scene should have ended right there, we cut back to Clyde emerging from the barn with a baseball bat for whatever fucking reason. The only other police officer in this whole town arrives to the scene of the crime, and before we can get any exposition, Luann the dispatcher radios in and informs us what just happened in the previous scene.
Clyde McKenzie's been shooting off his gun again.
Chief Wayne then tells his one police officer,
try not to let Marie see him when you're moving, will you?
even though she's already seen him because she was the one that called it in. So also, like, why aren't they interrogating her? Because wouldn't she be the prime suspect in her husband's murder? I mean, this does look like murder, right? This isn't just me. Here at the local eatery Betty's,
These green screens are killing me, dude. It's either a real crow on a green screen or it's a CGI crow in a real scene.
we see what appears to be an Amish girl named Rachel talk to the owner, Betty, about something that's purely meant to drag this piece of shit movie out.
How's Sarah and Joshua? Good. Growing very quickly. And they eat everything.
What accent is that? Where is she from?
Betty then appears to see something outside that draws her attention.
What the fuck does she keep looking? What is she looking at? There's nothing there.
Clyde then walks into the restaurant, sits down at the bar, and lies to Betty about not being an alcoholic anymore.
Told you before, Betty. I don't touch this stuff no more.
Cynthia pulls up to a gate that just screams, "Don't fucking trespass!" But obviously this gate doesn't know it's fucking with the chief of police's own personal lady of the night, and she whores her way on through. She wanders through a barn where an Amish fellow by the name of Jacob, who can't seem to keep his mouth closed.
May I ask why you visit? You cannot accept it. I speak for all. I should be getting back now.
Comes up behind her, and the movie implies something terrible happened. But of course it didn't, and we cut back to the same shot and we get more dialogue that doesn't mean shit, and Jacob, in the nicest way possible, asks her to get the fuck out of his barn.
Oh, I also came to say goodbye to everyone.
I'll go tell them you were here.
Here we have two completely pointless characters. No, I'm dead serious. These people serve absolutely no purpose in this movie, and it's these two rich fucks. We know they're rich because they look like the stereotypical rich people, and they act super entitled, and they drive a BMW, even though it was probably the cheapest BMW production could get their hands on because it looks like it's 30 years old. And the guy gets super triggered because he sees a sign that says full service and nobody is coming out to pump his gas. Then he gets even more triggered because he's having to clean his own windshield. Then later they come up on a truck that crashed in a tunnel that was driven by that Rachel girl from earlier, who was so important that we needed to know her name because she's literally in two scenes, even though we still don't know that one cop's name. Then they're surrounded by ravens who don't attack them until they're safely back in the car. Then they back their car into a ditch and the thing catches on fire, and then he dies in the fire, and later she dies because of the injuries she sustained when the car did that little flip in the ditch. Yeah, that's all they do in this whole movie. That's it. Chief Wayne stops into Betty's to have a word with Clyde
I'll speak to you outside for a minute.
Fuck. He knows about the kids.
about discharging his load that morning, and Clyde makes up some horseshit story about being attacked by birds because he's a drunk.
You know, Clyde, if you
I
clean
got
up...
attacked by a big bunch of birds this morning.
That's not true. I was there. He attacked them first.
We're then introduced to Doris, a 26-year-old high school student that constantly gives Clyde shit throughout this whole movie because she secretly wants him inside her.
Hey, Clyde.
Yeah.
As usual, you won't find out Doris's name until about 30 minutes after her character is introduced. We're then introduced to Gretchen, who is dropped off by her dad at Betty's diner where she gets on the bus.
What we do is nobody's business. We must keep what has happened to ourselves.
Understand, Papa?
Dude, Clyde has to have the easiest school bus driving job in the world. I mean, apparently all he does is drive his bus to Betty's in the morning, then all their parents take their kids to Betty's to get on the bus, and he drives them to school. I mean, if they're gonna do that, why don't they just drive the kids directly to school? Oh wait, it turns out that this is a girls' basketball team, but they're not going to a game because you would need at least 5 players to play a game, so since I guess they couldn't afford 2 more actors for this piece of shit, they just say it's a basketball workshop.
You playing a game?
No, it's just a workshop.
I mean, look at Clyde. Even he knows what a load of shit this is.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, and this is Coach, by the way. Just Coach. You'll learn her name later. Back at the farm, the absolute worst doctor in the history of television movies can't figure out why this guy died because literally no one has ever died from a bird attack before.
So what do you think happened, Doc? You know something? I don't really know.
I'm not saying whoever did the special effects in this movie did a shitty job. All I'm saying is, if you've got a corpse on the ground that was attacked by birds, and obviously they pecked and clawed and like chewed away at his flesh, you might want to take the time to put something like that on his body somewhere instead of just having him lying on the ground with his eyes open and have some fake blood on his face.
He then goes on to say he had a difficult time sleeping when he became coroner because I guess he didn't realize being coroner involved seeing dead bodies.
When I first got the contract as coroner for the county, I didn't sleep very well at night myself.
Wayne rolls out to Clyde's place and sees a dead bird, and just to make absolutely sure it's a bird, he uses a pin to open its wing so he doesn't have to touch it.
Even though he touches it anyway.
A raven catches him off guard and he cuts his hand. I think he cuts his hand. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. He's holding his wrist like he cut his hand, but it doesn't lead to anything. You know, I think the director was actually going to use this in the story somewhere, but he completely forgot he cut his hand here. Hey, look, we're 37 minutes into this movie and we finally find out that this guy's name is Stan.
Stan, it's Wayne. It's urgent. Do you copy?
This is Stan. Go ahead.